Thank you, everyone, for coming. Very much appreciate it. This is a labor of love for us, and we'll get to Stan and the presentation in just a minute. As you know, we celebrated our 50th. They lit up the Empire State Building, which was wonderful. And now the proclamations are starting to come in. So this one is from the City Council, and we put that up. And we have a wonderful one from the mayor as well that is currently being taken care of at the shop so that it gets a really nice frame and nice matting. And always to Scott, thank you, because it's always coming out of his wallet. He goes, everything that we do comes out of Scott's wallet. So our 50th celebration will continue throughout the year, and thank you. Some of you knew him. Some of you know of him. But as much as today is about paying tribute to the man, it is at least as much about making sure his legacy is passed on to the generations who have yet to hear of him. Whenever I meet non-Windsors, and it happened last night, who find themselves interacting with us for one reason or another, the response is always the same. They're surprised at what a nice bunch of people we are. You guys are so cool, you're so down to earth, you're so nice, and that's a pretty good achievement when you consider that Lee Harris works here. But we are beloved. And I started to think about it actually last night, and the reason that I think we are beloved, because it's in our culture. It's in our DNA. And the DNA was born with Stan Brooks. So when we hire people and the environment of this radio station, it really is a reflection of Stan Brooks. And when we lit the Empire State Building last night, it was as much for the iconic nature of the radio station as it was a tribute to Stan Brooks, because without him, we wouldn't have had the lighting last night. And of course, dipped into Scott's pocket again, which would have been great. So, we mourned and we grieved when he died, but that's not why we're here today. We're here to celebrate him. For the sadness of all the things we knew we would miss with his passing are the same memories now that make us smile when we think about how lucky we were to know him. So this is not a sad occasion. Nothing here will be sad. This is all about the celebration. That is what the day is and what this plaque represents. And since the Brooks family need a similar visual reminder of that, Bennett, I have a book for you. And in it, you'll see what's on that PowerPoint presentation. On the front, it says Stan Brooks, loved, missed, remembered, forever. And I just want you to have the book. And if people want to see it later, they can, but I just want you to see it. It's just a collection.
Don't let my brothers know, okay?
No, there's one book just for you. And I just want you to see that it's everything's on it. And it's all the people. It's really, when Stan passed, I got hundreds of emails. And obviously filled with sadness, but also sharing memories of Stan. And what I did was I took those memories, took the sadness part out, took a sampling of all the wonderful things, and put it into the book. So that not for us, because we know him, not for those who know of him, but for his grandchildren and his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, when they look back and they ask about great-great-great-grandpa, they'll have that book to look at. And that's what the plaque represents as well. It is the Stan Brooks Memorial Newsroom, but it's a dedication for Stan and all the wonderful things that he represented. And so with that, there are a couple of people I want to say a few words who knew him very well, who worked with him, and let's start with Glenn, who worked with him down at City Hall every day.
Thank you. Wasn't going to be emotional, you said. I'm all choked up already. Juliet and I were speaking, I thought, I have to write something about Stan, and I don't. I mean, it comes pretty easily. And I was driving in this morning thinking about the word legacy and the legacy that Stan left behind. And it was twofold. There was his professional legacy, his love for telling people he worked at WINS. It was never 1010 Wins, Ben. It was always WINS. Watching him work, having the pleasure of being with him every day, his professionalism, probably the best writer of a story that I've met, and would stop at any turn to talk to anyone about this business. He was a wonderful legacy that he's left professionally, obviously, but personally as well. We all probably think about, what our legacy will be. Stan, again, has a twofold legacy. Bennett and Rick and George, his sons. If you spend time with them and meet them, you can see Stan and Lynn and the love and the family that they shared, and just an amazing family. And that's another legacy that Stan was equally proud of, if not more than his work at 1010 Wins. So both of those touched me. Stan was in my wedding. I'm getting emotional, Ben. He was in my wedding. We watched him work to the very last weeks of his life, and he was an amazing man, and we miss him dearly. And God bless Stan. This is an honor for me to even be here to talk on this behalf, and we think of him every day. Thank you very much.
during those tough last couple of months, we sort of formed a posse of Team Stan. And Mark was part of that, and Rich Lamb was part of that, and just sort of trying to take care of him as best we could. One person who was there every day, every hour, every minute, on the phone, in person, taking him to dinner, whatever he needed, was our own Juliet Papa.
Well, I have to tell you, it is not often that you get to work alongside greatness. And Robin worked alongside Batman. And in the bullpen, David Robertson worked alongside Mariano Rivera. And I got to work alongside Stan. And we co-anchored quite a few of the city's biggest stories. And there were triumphs and tragedies. So I thought I'd do a little show and tell. Here we are at a 9/11 anniversary, co-anchoring. And that must have been one of the first couple of anniversaries, if you see the picture. And one of the triumphs was, here we are, John Montone and Stan and I at the City Hall working together covering the World Series victory for the New York Yankees. And that was, hours and hours of talk time. And I used to sit alongside Stan doing this, and it's not easy talking for several hours at a time and imparting facts and information, because you really have to think about what you're saying, being responsible for the information, and you have to make it interesting to your listeners. And Stan was not about reciting facts. You could recite a list and recite facts, and it is as boring as hell. And nobody wants to listen to that. So I used to listen to him. Even though I'm sitting next to him, I'm listening. So how did he do this? And I decided that I got a lesson in excellence every time. Because the way he did it was, he made the story compelling to the listener. He imparted the facts and he imparted the information, but he engaged his listener. So what I thought was, with the dedication of this plaque, was it would be a reminder to people of those values. Make your story interesting. Make it compelling to your listener. And I also thought that when I was in Rome covering the Pope, I noticed that people would go up to, in St. Peter's Basilica, they'd go up to the statue of St. Peter and touch his foot for some guidance and inspiration. And Derek Jeter always touched the quote of Joe DiMaggio before he'd enter Yankee Stadium's field, before the day of the game. So I thought, once this plaque goes up, everybody walk by, touch it, rub it, and maybe a little bit of Stan will rub off on you. Thank you very much.
We offered to rub your foot, John, but sock came off and that was it. We'll take a rain check on that. We are very blessed and fortunate. We met Bennett. We've known him sort of tangentially through the years, and then, of course, got to know him very well during those the last year of Stan's life. And he became family. I mean, if there's one of the sons, I am saying this on camera, that is most like Stan, it is Bennett. He is kind, he is gentle, he thinks about others first. One of the things that we wrote about Stan was the only I Stan knew about was, how can I help you? What can I do for you? And Bennett has that gene. So I will get to Scott in a moment, but Bennett, why don't you come up now and say a few words.
Thank you, Ben, and you're going to have to edit that part out. It's really an honor to be here and to have all of you here to honor my dad. And I'm here with my wife, Kim, and two of my parents' oldest and dearest friends, Rita Butoff and Barbara Bailey over there. And thank you guys for being here. My dad's gotten a bunch of honors over the probably the last decade, because everyone thought he would retire, and he kept not retiring. And there are a couple of amazing ones. There's the street sign on the street where he and my mom live. There's City Hall room. These are amazing, but there are two honors that he got that to me really stand out in particular. One is the New York City Press Club Memorial Scholarship from my dad, which is given every year to two young journalists, and last year was the first year. And that's, I think, would be so meaningful to him, because he so cherished mentoring young journalists, and I think there are probably several of you who are in your 50s or 60s out there who were mentored by him a long time ago, but that meant a ton. And the other one, I think, would be this one. It's remarkable to work at one place for 50 years. It's even remarkable to work until you're 86, but to work for 50 years at one place until you're 86, and then do it with people who so love you and you so love is really a gift. Very, very few of us get that. And my dad absolutely cherished all of you and his relationship with you and the station. And he'd be blown away to know that this is here in Juliet. He would love your concept of touching the plaque. I hear from Glenn, by the way, the plaque weighs 90 pounds, so it's about the same weight as my dad, give or take. Exactly. But pretty much I'd have to say every year, and Kim, you can back me up on this, I think every year for about the last decade or so, I think my dad would say to my mom, he goes, Linny, I think this may be the last year I'm going to work at Wynn's. I think I need to stop. And she'd kind of go, uh-huh. And, and he kept coming back, because of all of you. I mean, he loved you, and he loved this place. So I just want to say thank you all so much, and on behalf of my brothers who couldn't be here, we're so touched that you honor his memory all the time. It means a ton to us. So thank you to Scott, to Glenn, to Juliet, Ben, everybody. Thank you.
Scott Herman, if anyone has carried on the spirit of Stan Brooks, it is Scott Herman. He tells a great story, and it's in the book, and it's on the PowerPoint display about how when he was a kid and Stan was, forever an adult, took this kid that nobody knew and showed him around, but introduced Scott to everybody as my colleague, Scott. Not the intern, not the kid, not the whatever, my colleague. And that is Stan. And that, everybody, he didn't want to be better than anybody else, didn't want to be treated better than anybody else. And so without interrupting, Scott Herman.
Stan and I always had this thing that he couldn't retire before me. So I'm going to safely say to you today, I will not be working till I'm 86. Okay? Stan's record will be intact. He had uninterrupted service at Wynn's. I had interrupted service. But I've been involved with Wynn's in one way, shape, or form for 38 of the 50 years. And there's no question it's so much a part of me and the fabric of me. And, most people don't know, Julia trained me when I first got to the station. I started in December of 1978, and she started about 6 months or so ahead of me. And she trained me when I got to the radio station. And then Stan certainly took me under his wing and was kind of like another father to me early in my life. So when we were trying to figure out a way to honor him, I kept coming back to the Yankees because nobody does a better job of retiring numbers and honoring their greats than the Yankees. So when Ben and I were trying to figure this out, we said a monument in center field. Like, that's the ultimate tribute to a Yankee. So what you'll see with what we did here, this is our version of a monument in center field at Yankee Stadium for Stan. What we didn't realize is it's so heavy, we have to reinforce the wall before we hang it up. Because we're told structurally the wall will fall down if we just hang it. So we didn't totally think it through. But you see Stan, working newsman on the street, in the office, his Wynn's mic, as a young newsman, when they named the street where Stan and Lynn lived on West 43rd Street, Stan Brooks Way. And it says the Stan Brooks Memorial Newsroom, in recognition of his passion, pride, professionalism, and heart during 50 years of service to 1010 Wynn's and the people of Greater New York, we dedicate this newsroom to the memory of Stan Bertram Brooks, Brooksy, 1927-2013, reporter, first news director, mentor, leader, colleague, and friend.
It is very special and special to us, and will hang as you enter the door. And again, the purpose is those of us who know him, those of us who knew of him, but for all those who have yet to know who he is, they will come in, they will look at that, they will ask questions, and we will all supply the great answers. So thank you. In keeping with Stan Brooks and his tradition, we did it in 17 minutes, which is pretty good. If anyone else, wants to come up and say, I do want to acknowledge, Lee put together a retrospective as part of our 50th on Sunday. He put together like 10 or 15 pieces, which was great. He talked to Joel Chaseman, the original general manager. But when we talked about the heart and soul of the radio station, he had a sit down with Stan many, many years ago, talking about the history of the radio station, and paid tribute to him again, these years later, on the air. So Stan was on our air again on Sunday, which is only fitting. So thank you all.